Islands are definitely some of the most intriguing places in the world. Some of them are famous tourist spots like Bali and the islands of Greece, while some others are remote and almost impossible to access, which makes them the perfect spot to escape from the crowds. However, some islands are so far from civilization to the point that they become the scenario of mysterious and unexplainable events. Or at least that's what some people say. Today we'll be looking at 10 of the most mysterious islands on Earth. We'll be looking at what makes these places so unique, and we'll try to figure out what exactly is going on in these places. Number 10. Bannerman Island. When you think about mysterious islands, you might think of rare remote places around the globe. But the first island on this list is just a half-hour boat ride away from New York City. When you first look at this place, you might notice the presence of an incomplete castle, which was being built by Frank Bannerman VI, who made a lot of money by reselling military equipment that he got during government-led auctions at the end of the US Civil War. With so many possessions, he needed a safe place to store them, so his son advised him to get not a warehouse, but a whole island. He ended up naming it after himself. When Bannerman died in 1918, the construction of the castle stopped. Later in 1950, the whole island became abandoned and, well, no one really wants to stay here. People just come for short visits. According to Native American tradition, this place is haunted by evil spirits. Perhaps they're the one that caused Bannerman's misfortune? I guess we'll never know. Number 9. Isla Bermeja. People have known about Bermeja since the 1700s. That's over 300 years ago. The existence of this place off the coast of Mexico was the key point to allow Mexico to extend its claim of offshore oil and put a stop to the United States from working in that area. Unfortunately, back in 2009, a group of researchers from a Mexican university went out to look for the island and they couldn't find it. They used all sorts of devices to try to find it within the area indicated on the map, but their search was unsuccessful. Today, there are all sorts of conspiracy theories regarding the fate of this island. Some people claim to disappear due to global warming or a terrible earthquake, but others like to think that the US bombed the place, which in their eyes it makes sense, because if this island doesn't exist anymore, then Mexico can't claim offshore oil in this part of the ocean. However, Mexicans are not giving up, and they hope that one day they will find the island again. Number 8. Vozrozhdeniya Island. About 100 years ago, the Soviet Union was looking for a place to become the scenario of one of the darkest laboratories of all time. After a thorough search around the nation, they finally found the perfect spot on Vozrozhdeniya Island, which is in the Aral Sea. It was on this island that they built a biological weapon lab in which they genetically modified things like smallpox, the plague, anthrax, and other diseases to resist medical treatment. Part of the experiments included the caging of 300 monkeys that were exposed to the germs and were later monitored to see the progression of the diseases. The project had around 1,500 people working and living on this island. When they weren't working, they could be seen at a social club, the stadium, or any other interesting amenity that the government built just so they wouldn't leave the island. Eventually, the Aral Sea dried up, and the lab facilities turned into ruins. At this point, all the pathogens that had been destroyed by the harsh conditions around it, except for anthrax, which can survive for a very long time. However, a treaty signed in 1972 banned the use of biological weapons, so they had to bury the anthrax spores. Authorities claim there are no traces of any disease now, but I guess we'll never know for sure, unless we're able to go there one day. Number 7. Partridge Island. I know a lot of you are probably tired of hearing words like quarantine, but that was exactly the main purpose of Partridge Island, which is off the coast of St. John Arbor in Canada. This is the place where they quarantined Irish people who were moving to Canada in 1830. During this time, a lot of immigrants came accompanied by diseases such as measles, cholera, yellow fever, scarlet fever, at least among others. In order to keep them from spreading these, they were kept at this quarantine station. Things got a bit more complicated when Ireland was hit by the Irish potato famine, a crisis from which all of them wanted to escape. This brought a great influx of immigrants, which was beyond the amount of people that they could handle. As a result, a lot of the people got sick and died during the quarantine, and they had to be buried on the island. In one occasion, the deaths were so many that they had to do a mass grave. Some people claim that the spot of this mass grave turned out to be greener than other parts of the island, and they believe this is because the corpses nourished the ground. The island closed in the early 1940s, and today is a place that we can only visit through pictures. Number 6. The Eye. Who doesn't love a good sci-fi film? Sometimes they take us into unknown possible worlds that are a bit too hard to believe, but sometimes they turn out to be very close to reality to the point that it doesn't feel like science fiction anymore. Back in 2016, filmmaker Sergio Nuspiller was looking for places to shoot a new science fiction movie. And during the location scout, he found the Eye, an island with the shape of an almost perfect circle. It was also surrounded by a channel that also looks like an almost perfect circle. When you look at it from above, it definitely looks like an eye. But the most interesting thing about the Eye is that it floats. The inner mass rotates on its own axis, which certainly gives it a bit of an eerie feeling. After this amazing discovery, Nuspiller decided to change directions. Now he's gonna make a documentary about the island rather than a science fiction movie. If you ask me, I think that's actually a better idea. I'm definitely more interested about knowing the secrets of this island rather than watching another science fiction film. Number 5. Poveglia Island. Although it is now abandoned, Poveglia Island was once a place of physical and mental healing. This small island in the Venetian lagoon has existed since the year 421, but it received its first residents in the 1300s. And then in the 1700s, the island became a quarantine space for people who were suffering from multiple diseases. Finally, 100 years later, it became a mental hospital until it was abandoned in 1968. But what makes this island so creepy is not what happened in the past, but what happens in it today. People claim that the ghosts of former patients are still wandering around the island, and I can totally believe that. After all, it is said that there was once a doctor who was experimenting on patients and was later haunted by ghosts that drove him so mad that he ended up jumping from a bell tower. That's pretty dark. The tower bell was removed from the island, but residents at the time kept hearing it, and that's just one of the many ghost stories surrounding the place. No wonder it got shut down. Today, this is a forbidden place, but some TV shows have been able to access Poveglia and feature some of the crazy stories that took place here. Number 4. Socotra Island. As of today, Yemen is not the kind of country we can just go and visit. They're going through a lot at the moment to the point that it's dangerous for a regular tourist to just show up and go around. But if I had the chance to go right now, there is one place I'd like to see: Socotra Island. When you look at this island, it certainly looks like something from another planet. That's because a third of the plants on this island can't be found anywhere else in the world. And in case you're wondering about the preservation of these, I can assure you that there's nothing to worry about since 70% of the island has been declared a national park, which pushes local authorities to take good care of it. Among the rare plants you can find the dragon's blood tree, which doesn't have any leaves except for its tips and looks like roots. In fact, when you look at it, it gives you the impression that the trees are planted upside down. All of these trees have been the source of natural medicine, fabric dye, stain wood, and incense. The only native mammal to the island are the bats that live inside the beautiful limestone caves. And if that wasn't intriguing enough, there are many messages carved inside the walls of these caves, which researchers link to sailors who visited the island prior to the year AD 6. Number 3. Easter Island. How can a place that is so remote from other civilizations develop a complex system without the influence of other societies? I mean, just look around. All of us are influenced by each other. We've grown together as humans. But when you look at Easter Island, you begin to wonder if the people here had any outer help, or if they developed things on their own. And if they did get any help, how did it happen? They're so far away from everyone else. One of the most mysterious things on this island is a set of statues that were carved out of volcanic solidified ashes. When Europeans discovered the island, they believed the Rapa Nui people, who are the native people on this island, got help from South American native people. But recent studies have shown that the two groups had never had contact. That means the Rapa Nui built these statues on their own. They carved them themselves, and most importantly, they moved them around even if they were heavy. The place is certainly full of mystery, as there is not a clear path to determine what really happened in the past. All we can do is enjoy this mystical place and come to our own conclusions. Now it's time for the day's best pick. The picture I chose for the day shows this rare and developed island. It looks creepy and complex, and there's one mysterious island just like it. It's owned by the US, and it certainly has raised some questions, and let's check it out with number 2. Diego Garcia. Even the name is a little odd. Diego Garcia is a U-shaped atoll in the Indian Ocean. It was inhabited by the Chagosians until they were removed by the UK just so the United States could build a naval base. The location of the island is very strategic because it's between East Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. This allows the US to access these locations whenever they consider it necessary. The place was very useful during the 1991 Gulf War, the 2001 Afghanistan War, and most recently during the 2003 Iraq War. But some people believe there's more to just a naval base. They claim that the US uses this space as a secret prison camp. Of course, the government denies all of that, but how can you prove it when no one else has access to the place? Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. Nan Madol. At the top of the list we have an island with a mysterious abandoned city on it. This island is about 1,600 miles away from the coast of Australia and 2,500 miles away from Los Angeles, California. This puts it at a very remote location in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But if this place is so far, then how come there's a whole city built on top of it? Many people are trying to answer this question, but none of them seem to be near the place, because they believe it's haunted. Local people call the place Reef of Heaven. While researchers can't explain how this place was built, local people believe that their ancestors made it all happen through the use of magic. What do you guys think? It seems like a lot of mysteries surrounding these places will leave us with more questions. One thing is for sure, we should never stop exploring and questioning the things around us. Do you have any theories regarding any of these islands? Let us know in the comment section down below. With all that said and done, that's our video for today, folks, and I will see you all next time. Later, everybody.